Alright guys, let's talk about what really happened with Medal of Honor Warfighter, why it's getting such critical reviews, and why it might feel like the game isn't finished. Now let's make no mistake, I love Medal of Honor Warfighter, but it tanked when it came to reviews. Critics tore this game apart, and the overwhelming opinion is that the game felt as if it was largely unfinished. But before I get into that, whether or not I agree with that statement, let's talk about what Medal of Honor is about. This series was founded by Steven Spielberg, and the absolute goal of the series at all times was to honor the soldier, to give an authentic story, to put people in the boots of these soldiers and tell their story in a way that honors them. That is what Medal of Honor is all about. At its core, it can never deviate from that. That is the point of the entire series, to put people in these boots of these soldiers in an immersive experience that is both authentic and honorable, and just tells these soldier stories in a way that is just outstanding. And I'm not just really talking about multiplayer, I'm just talking about the Medal of Honor experience, especially having to do with the campaign. So in order to have that level of authenticity, you need to go above and beyond what is present in any other series. When you look at Call of Duty, even when you look at Battlefield, they take a lot of liberties in the portrayal of these soldiers, their battle chatter. I mean, they have some contractors that they hire to make sure that it's somewhat authentic, but never to the level that Medal of Honor tried to go. And that's what happened here. A couple years ago, Electronic Arts tasked Danger Close with reviving this series, and Danger Close looked at the core, looked at what Medal of Honor was about, honoring the soldier in an authentic and honorable way, and they decided to go balls to the wall with that concept. And I've hinted at this before in a few other videos, but I wanted you to believe me when I said that Danger Close was taking steps to acquire that authenticity that I've never seen any studio, developing company, any company take prior to this. Even a Hollywood studio, they take a lot of steps, when they're doing their military movies to acquire authenticity. But anybody who's been in the military know they make mistakes along the way. Danger Close was trying to acquire perfection in their authenticity. So they went to the real deal. And when I mean real deal, I mean actual GROM, actual Navy SEALs, actual Delta soldiers, active duty and retired. And they got the information from the source. They would show them what they want to do in the game, and they would say, are we doing this right? Tell us what you did. Tell us what you had on you. What weapons were you using? What battle chatter would you use? They wanted that level of authenticity so that when they tell their story, when Medal of Honor goes to sit down and perform the campaign or create the campaign, they're doing it in a way that is authentic and doesn't portray these soldiers in a way that they would laugh at if they played it themselves. And acquiring some of these soldiers, some of these military forces as assets in the creation of this game is a really big deal, especially for some of these services. I know the Navy SEALs, they have this code of silence where they don't really talk about what they do. They don't brag about it. If they're chilling with buddies at home, having a beer, it's not something they bring up in conversation. It's serious shit that they do on a regular basis. So it's a big deal that Medal of Honor was able to acquire these assets, to acquire that level of authenticity that they were going for. It was a big deal to begin with, and it's what really got me excited for this game to begin with. When I got involved with CSON, the community director, and they invited me to come play the alpha at PAX, and they started giving me information, and as I started talking to some of the developers of the game, I'd learned what level of detail they were going into. One of the Navy SEALs that they actually got as a consultant was the guy who put the final bullet in Osama bin Laden. Read the book, No Easy Day. The story is there. And he went even into more detail for the developers of this game to make sure that they were doing it right. To hear that man's story and to see what our soldiers today are doing is just an outstanding thing. Just to shake the man's hand that killed Osama bin Laden is just a huge ordeal for me and for a lot of other people too. So when you heard about the excitement going behind Medal of Honor Warfighter, that was a big part of it. And it wasn't just the consultants that they got on the military side. It was also the gear that they were putting into the game. Danger Close had created this partnership program where they contacted companies like Heckler & Koch and some of the other firearm developers in this game, like Macmillan, and creating this partnership program that was meant to have a level of authenticity within the gear that simply was not present in other games. And that is also a big deal, because if you look at games like Call of Duty and even Battlefield, a lot of the weapons, they're not portrayed 100% correctly. A lot of liberties are taken, and Medal of Honor was looking to take no liberties. We want to do this right. That was their goal. So what went wrong? How did we go from that goal and that concept to the reviews that we have now? Where did Medal of Honor fail? And the sad truth is, they failed because they succeeded. They did acquire that level of authenticity that's never been acquired before. They did make those partnerships and bridge those gaps that have never been crossed before. And as a result, they got themselves in a lot of trouble. Now, first we can start with the military consultants that helped them out. I think it was about 6 or 7 of them got letters of reprimand and half their pay docked for 2 months. For giving away what the command considered to be sensitive information. Now, I don't know the whole story there. I don't know what's going on in the background, but I find it difficult to believe that someone as disciplined as a Navy SEAL didn't get some type of approval from their command. Didn't get some, whether it's verbal, written, I don't know. But part of me feels like they got screwed over in this situation. Now, letter of reprimand isn't a humongous deal. It's not like an Article 15. But when you're a senior enlisted and it comes between you getting promoted and somebody else getting promoted, that letter of reprimand can hold you back. But still, I think that's bullshit. So that happened to those consultants that helped them out. And Electronic Arts, as the funding company behind this, has the right to take creative control. And when they felt pressure, I believe, from the government, I think they stepped in and they removed some content. Now, I don't know the level at which they started to remove content, and I can't even say that they actually did remove content. That is something that they will never reveal. All I can look at what happened and the details and make my own assumptions. And the fact that Greg Goodrich, the guy who was the face of Medal of Honor, the guy in control over at Danger Close of Medal of Honor, who so passionately defended his product when early on some journalists were talking crap about the level of authenticity, so passionately defended it, is no longer available, is no longer anywhere on the employee list, nowhere to be found. Something happened there, guys. And I'm going to make my own assumptions here, but I think they went too far in their level of authenticity. They got themselves into trouble, particularly with the government. Electronic Arts, they're not going to want to cause trouble with anybody, so they step in and they remove stuff. And this is something Electronic Arts is known for. Back in 2010, when Medal of Honor was released, I'm not sure if you remember, but in multiplayer, you had 2 factions. There was the faction that was causing particular issues was where you could play as the Taliban. Now, let's make no mistake. Who does United States forces fight right now? We do not fight Russians. I'm so tired of playing as a Russian, when you're like the bad guys in multiplayer. So to be authentic, you play as the Taliban. And that raised a lot of issues with Gold Star mothers, and Gold Star mothers are they're mothers who have lost their children, God bless them. They got very upset at the idea that you could play as a Taliban killing American soldiers. So there was an issue there. Electronic Arts stepped in, removed that whole thing from multiplayer, and as a result, all the games got pulled from the shelves and PXs and military bases all around the world. So that really harmed Medal of Honor 2010, because your main people that you're honoring, the main thing that the story is about, you can't reach that demographic because you just got pulled over something that was too authentic. And here it's happened again. They got too authentic with the story. Now they got in trouble with the government. Reprimands are handed out. EA's like, whoa, let's step in here. Greg Goodrich, who's so passionate about his product, is like, no, this is what we're doing. This is what you told us to do. This is what Steven Spielberg said this series is about. It's about authenticity and honoring the soldier, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And now it's not available anymore? What do you think happened? No, I'm not trying to make a conspiracy theory. I'm not trying to throw out shit that I don't know. I'm just trying to look at the details and just find out what happened. What really happened to Medal of Honor? And these are details that are extremely pertinent, if you ask me. Greg Goodrich, the guy, the passionate leader behind Medal of Honor, is no longer available. The title got in trouble, or at least got the consultants trouble that helped into trouble that helped him out. So I know that had something to do with Electronic Arts stepping in. And it wasn't just the consultants. We also have to look at the partnership program that they had with a lot of the gear that was featured in the game. They had partnership programs with Macmillan. They had partnership programs with Heckler & Koch. It's why they're able to use the full name and display the name so realistically. That same partnership program got into trouble when they started to feature the Tomahawk. The same Tomahawk that some of these special forces uses. They use some type of program to where you could buy the same Tomahawk, and the money and proceeds that go from you buying that Tomahawk when you bought the game would go to veterans and help out veterans. That got into trouble because now you're crossing some line. You know, you can't cross the line from a video game into real weapons, even though it's just a freaking Tomahawk. That got them into trouble. EA stepped in for that and said, no, you can't do this. And I'm wondering what other pieces of the partnership program got nixed out, because that was a contract between Danger Close and these weapon developers. And when EA stepped in and says, well, you can't do this, you can't do this, and you can't do this, I wonder what weapons other firearm companies pulled out from that contract, and those are weapons that are no longer able to be featured in the game right now. I can only wonder. And when you look at the weapons available and how you're looking at the list of weapons and you see 3 different variants of the same weapon, that didn't seem right to me. That wasn't something that was talked about when I was at PAX and talking about the alpha and talking to different developers about the game. That isn't something that was talked about. That almost seems as if they had a shortage of weapons. I wonder how that happened. So if you ask me, you have a game here that is critically reviewed as unfinished because it's unfinished. I think a large portion of its content was pulled in fear of some type of repercussions from EA. So I think that's the huge problem with Medal of Honor right now. And the problem that I see with that particular issue is how can they bridge that gap going into the future? How can Danger Close look at what happened with this game, which some consider to be a failure? How can they look at what happened and do it better next time? The game is about authenticity and honoring the soldier. How are they supposed to take that basis of the series, what it's supposed to be all about, and go into the future knowing what just happened to Medal of Honor Warfighter? I mean, I want to be at that meeting. Actually, I don't, because it's probably going to be a really frustrating meeting. But I want to be where Danger Close is sitting there in the office going, so we're supposed to tackle this Medal of Honor series in the most authentic and honorable way toward the soldier as possible. We did that in the best possible way we know how, and we got screwed for it. Now, to be honest, this was largely unknown. This whole issue was largely unknown up until, some of these articles talking about the reprimands that these soldiers are getting. And we already knew that the partnership program took a huge hit. So we already knew that probably had something to do with some of the content not being in the game. But that's not the only thing, to be fair, that Medal of Honor was reviewed critically for. It was said that it was a Call of Duty copycat, all this other stuff. But I find it difficult to say that this game was Danger Close's vision. I think that Electronic Arts stepped in a big way, and the game that we got was not the game it was supposed to be. And that's a real shame. And their failure was them succeeding in their goal, which is to be as authentic as possible. And it got them into a tremendous amount of trouble. And I really do think we're looking at the end of the series here, guys. If I was Danger Close, I'd be extremely frustrated. They have done things that are extremely difficult to do, to bridge some of the gaps that they bridged, to make some of the connections that they made, to make a game on the scale in which they were trying to make it. Has never been done before, and I don't think it was quite done here because, they got shortchanged. EA stepped in. We didn't get the real Medal of Honor Warfighter. That's my opinion. And it is my opinion. All I'm doing here, guys, is looking at everything in front of me and making my own conclusion. I think you should do the same. Like I said, I'm not trying to make a conspiracy theory here. I'm just trying to look at all the information and find out what really happened, because we're not going to hear it from EA. EA is not going to be like, yep, they fucked up. We had to step in. We moved more in a Call of Duty direction because of this, and we took these weapons out because of this, and we had to take this storyline out because of this. They're just not going to say that. They're going to say, whoa, we did the best we could. What happened? I don't know. Please buy it because it's good. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think, though. Look at all the information before you make your opinion, though. And don't just, naturally agree with me, and don't just naturally argue with me without looking at all the information. Tell me what you think. What do you think really happened with Medal of Honor Warfighter? Hey guys, don't forget to drop by the website and pick up your loyalty points for today. I also have 2 videos here for you. One is on the SKS Specialist Assignment Tips and how to complete that assignment. Another is on the LSAT Premium Specialist Assignment Tips and how to complete that. That's all I have for this video. This is Sergeant Merrill. Out here.